My name is Jenny McGUIRE, and I work at what used to be until very recently Stuttering Scholarship Alliance, and now we're called MySpeech. And I'm here today with Nathan, who just got in. I'll let him intro the whole thing in a minute, but I also want to introduce Chloe GAMBOL, who is a volunteer and just a member of the MySpeech community, and also a person who stutters.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's great to see everyone. I wanted to give a special shout out to Trisha again. Thank you for all of your hard work for making StutterFest happen. Trisha was a superwoman over the past month, and has just been it's amazing to see everything come together. So for the next 40 minutes, and I think we still have a few team members rolling in, so we'll be waiting for them. We don't want to bore you with a presentation about what we do. For us at MySpeech, formerly called Stuttering Scholarship Alliance, it's all about stories, right? And then helping these people who stutter with very distinctive stories to access the help that they need. So I'm not going to talk about the organization until the end. I promise. I'm going to give you a one-liner, and then we're going to let everyone here who is from MySpeech kind of tell you about their stuttering story, how it's unique, and then we'll circle back. So yeah, I am happy to start. I will say I love seeing faces as well, and so if you're in a position to undo your camera, that would be amazing as well. But I totally understand if you can't. So yeah, a little bit about me then. So I'm a person who stutters. I grew up in California, hence the bridge, but I'm not actually in California. And so I'm 23 years old, and I'm a medical student at Harvard. And stuttering really defined or has defined my life for the past 23 years. And in the beginning, for the first 17 or so years, it was really this tremendous burden. And for me, as it was for a lot of people, it was much less about the fluency and much more about the underlying anxiety, where I would stutter in middle school in a class, and then I would get made fun of, and then it just made me more anxious, and it made me stutter more, and it was this vicious cycle that was really, really tough. And then my parents, they were just amazing people, and I owe everything to them. But to this day, there is this conception, because I am somebody who my stutter isn't as severe as maybe it could be. They still want me to pass off as fluent. And so they, today's obviously a great day in terms of, quote unquote fluency, whatever that means. But I have, there's a spectrum, and anytime, I stutter more, my parents are always pointing it out and asking me why I still am doing that. And it hurts, right? Especially from people who I love and who love me a lot. And I think, there were obviously a lot of stories. Everybody has their own stuttering story. The one that stands out in my mind was I was a junior in high school, and it was the summer after my junior year, and I was giving a presentation in an auditorium, and the way the seats were angled, all of the seats were angled up, looking down at the speaker. So it was very intimidating. So I got up, and I was supposed to give a 10-minute presentation, and then I couldn't say my name, and then it was 2 whole minutes of me just standing there, not being able to say my name. And then after what felt like half an hour, I got through it, and I remember just feeling totally felt like nothing. right? And what changed for me was actually finding the um,
Hey, Michael Ryan, can you mute yourself? Thank you.
Sorry about that, Michael. And what changed for me was finding the stuttering community. So I went to school at UCLA, and then I joined the National Stuttering Association, a great organization of support groups for people who stutter. And I went to the national conference. I was 17, 18 at that time, and it was just crazy to meet so many people who stutter from all walks of life who were proud to be people who stutter. From little kids running around to older adults who were at the ends of their careers. It really opened up my eyes that there's this possibility that it's okay, that this idea of acceptance. And then what I started doing is I really wanted to give back, right? So I got involved with the NSA. I'm on the board of this wonderful organization, the World Stuttering Network, and then I founded MySpeech as well, which we'll talk about. And the part I want to highlight is that for me and my acceptance journey, what helped me was community, meeting other people who stutter, such as a lot of the people here, peer support, listening to people's stories, and realizing that I'm not alone, right? And that there are other people who were going through this same struggle. And then eventually, over the past 5 or 6 years, I was able to turn my stutter from this enemy into a best friend. And the best part of it is that I can't really pinpoint when that happened, but over time, I started to learn that the opportunities, the character traits that stuttering has taught me, it's made me more humble, I think more empathetic. I wouldn't be who I am today without it. And so I could never wish it away. So that's a little bit about me and my stuttering journey. I will hand it off to another member of our team to go ahead and share theirs.
Chloe or Shamine, do you want me to go, or would one of you want to go next?
You can go.
Totally open. Okay. And I think I saw Jamie in here, but now I don't know. Oh, there's her screen. So yeah, I'm Jenny McGUIRE. I started stuttering when I was learning to talk. So apparently it was before I even turned 2. And I have an older sister, and then I have a younger brother who also stutters. So my parents had 2 of their 3 kids stuttering. And we have a home video. My dad used to take a lot of home videos, and I was, I don't know, preschool age, and he's having me stand there and perform the ABCs, right? And I was a middle child. So unlike my older sister who just ran when the camera came out, even though she didn't stutter, I stuttered, but I was like, tape me, film me. And so we have this video evidence where you can see me get to R, and I'm doing a pre-formation of R, and I'm trying to get on R, and all of that is crystal clear in retrospect. But in the moment, I was their first kid that was starting to stutter. They didn't know what was going on. And so you hear my dad from behind the camera being R, assuming that I just didn't remember what letter came next. And then you just see this cloud come over my face, and I run away. So it really feels like video evidence of a coping style that I really ran with for 2.5 decades, which is just run away and avoid and don't explain to people so that they can give you time to speak. Don't defend yourself. Dad, I know that letter. It was just get away from the scene of this stuttering. And that is how I operated for a quarter century. I had a lot of speech therapy as a kid. This was in the 80s, so it was fluency shaping. I was super bought in. I was the hardest worker. I just thought maybe I just need to practice an hour a night instead of a half hour. I just thought I just hadn't found the magic homework recipe that was going to voila me into fluency. And so I took on that burden. I never thought there was a problem with the therapy. I just was like, there's just more problems with me, because the harder I try, the farther I get from fluency, which was my goal at that time. And so I was covert during this time, which just means in my head, I thought I passed as fluent. I don't know what I looked and appeared like. I mean, who knows what I really sounded like? But I do know it was a lot of arriving at the movie theater, giving my friend a 20 and being like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. You grab me a ticket so I don't have to walk up to the ticket booth and stutter in front of my friends, just constantly escaping like everything. And so by graduation time, like a little bit older than Nathan is, I was probably like 24. And, I was trying to like work in a corporate job after college, and I was in a cubicle. So therefore I felt that extra pressure of bystanders. Like I didn't have a private room to just fill with shame and stutter alone. And I would look at the phone on my desk, like it was literally a bomb, like that could just detonate at any point in the day. And I was so stressed out. I'm preaching the choir. I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. And my mom was back to, I was back to asking my mom to like make my doctor's appointments and do all these calls. And it was just so shaming to revert to when I was supposed to be a grown adult. And we found avoidance reduction therapy. And I had tried a speech easy. So like intellectually, I fully understood that I had opened every door that might lead to like quick fluency. And I really intellectually understood there clearly was no door to open. I was just going to have to go the hard, long way of going through the shame. And so I embarked on that journey. I took probably a year in speech therapy, going to group. I could not praise group therapy any higher. My therapist was amazing, but as was the support and the modeling I got to see from all these other people on different stages of their journeys. And I got to like try in my head, hear what someone else's assignment had been and be like, I wonder when I'll go out in the world and do something like that between groups, maybe in 6 months. I was a slow plotter. But over, like a 6-year period, I made a lot of change. I came out to people in my life that I was a person who stuttered. And then I moved to Colorado 11 years ago. And it was after I had done arts. And so I got to arrive in this new place and just make my new life as a person who stutter and not have to do that awkward, like, I actually stutter and I might be stuttering a lot right now as I'm trying to come to terms with it and that whole thing. I just got to arrive on the scene and stutter. And so I tell this story in contrast to Nathan's. I think the individual differences are fascinating. I think at the core, we share a lot of the same experiences. I think the approach and the speed by which our brains metabolize what to do and how to get there is so individual. And if I had been 18 like him and just heard it was a thing to accept stuttering and then just said, oh, that's all I need, I would have had a really different life path. So it's fun to see all different kinds of people. And if we all work hard, we can all get to the same place, which is being content, proud, and happy presenting ourselves as who we are, which one piece of our identities is that we stutter.
I can talk next if no one else wants to. But hi, I'm Chloe. I'm 20. I'm a student in college right now. And I'm a person who has a stutter. So I actually came across what is now MySpeech because I'm pre-med in college, and I got an email that was like, hey, there's this like group that is trying to work with people who have a stutter. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the kind of thing that I'd not seen before, and especially not talked about in like an institution like based thing. So I was immediately like, oh my gosh, I have to contact these people and like get involved in this, because it was truly the first time I had really seen anyone bring up a stutter, and it was in a way where it didn't like people had brought it up to me, but in the context of like, you're a person who has a stutter. But this was just like a person talking to us about how that there was this group of people who were trying to work with people who had a stutter, and I thought that was a really cool thing, so I immediately got involved. But I began to stutter, I'm told, when I was about 5. So when I first began to talk, I was fine. And then when I was about 5, I'm told that I started to stutter. And my mom took me to doctors and therapists, and they all told her, oh, she's a kid, she'll grow out of it. It's a kid thing. Well, needless to say, I didn't grow out of it. It's still here. And when I was about 8, my dad or my grandma told my mom, oh yeah, my dad actually had a stutter. So we found out at that point that it was probably just genes passing on through the family. But I think that growing up, it was really, really difficult. I did not have a supportive group of people around me. I would say my mom is the only person that I really felt comfortable with. I really spent my childhood and my teenagehood, I guess, really trying to hide who I was, like through any means possible. I would avoid school presentations. I would refuse to make friends. I would refuse to start like talking to people. So if a person wouldn't talk to me first, I didn't make friends. I didn't do the small talk thing. And kids are also pretty mean. So there was this entire thing of not only do I have my family saying things, like I can recall my grandma, like she smacked me when I was 12 on the mouth, like while I was in the midst of like a stutter. So I had that going on, and then I also had school, which wasn't much better, and I really spent a large portion of growing up not talking. And I'm a person who like, I love to talk. It's like my favorite thing in the world, funnily enough. So it was like this constant thing where I felt like I was buried beneath like all these things that I couldn't say. And I got involved in therapy at a couple of points throughout my childhood, but at the end of the day, I kind of just felt worse about myself. I kind of felt like me being a person who did talk the way that I did was bad, and that to like be a person in society, I had to be fluent. And then when I didn't have a bad stutter, like during the therapy that I got, I felt like almost like I had to stutter more in order to validate my experiences. But like when I did have a stutter, it was almost like bad because they wanted me to be fluent. And I applied to college and I kind of got into like my dream school, and I thought that it would fix all of my problems with connecting with people and with just spending like all my time like so afraid and like full of anxiousness. But I was like, oh, now I'm in college at the school I've like dreamed about, and I'm still scared, and like I still don't want to talk to people. So then when I found this MySpeech thing, I really have to say, like, I feel like this changed like my entire perspective on things. For the first time, like I have like a community of people who I don't feel bad to stutter around, and it's almost like for the first time there are other people who like talk with a stutter, and it really is like so amazing. I just like need to say that. And I was taught for the first time about like arts-based therapy or arts therapy, and this idea of like it's okay to like be a person who isn't fluent. Like fluency doesn't need to be the goal. You just have to like be okay with who you are. And I like all these people in MySpeech have inspired me and like really made me feel so much more comfortable with myself. I have to say, like, I got on a phone call the other day with my grandma, the one who like smacked me when I was 12 or so. And typically when I call her, like it is like I can't say anything because like I'm so afraid of her and of like, but I got on the phone with her and I was like cruising along. I felt great. It was awesome. And just so I think that I'm currently like on like the process of like becoming okay with myself and of like trying to trying to come to terms with who I am. And I couldn't have done that without like being involved in MySpeech and without finding like these kinds of groups. So it's still a journey and it's still a process. And like I still don't talk the amount that I feel like I should, and I still don't say the things that I think that I should, but I definitely am like on that process, experiencing the journey, and it's really fantastic. So yeah.
We're so glad you came, Chloe, and I just wanted to remind you that you've met us at MySpeech, and now that you're on this Zoom, you're on WSN's email list, so you can come to StutterFest every year. And if you ever went to an NSA conference, I think your head would explode. Like there are so many people out there, and you're just entering the community now. But it's bigger than you can imagine.
It's so cool.
I think it's cool, Chloe, that at such a young age, you said you're 20, to kind of come to that recognition that maybe grandma was wrong. It's hard for us to question our family members, our parents, our grandparents who, we grow up thinking everything that they say is correct. When we find out as we get older and become adults that sometimes they're wrong, and grandma was wrong, and that you were able to make a call and talk and feel comfortable is great to hear.
Okay, hi. I think I can go. So, hi. So, my name is Shao Mei Wu, and I started stuttering since I think I was 6 or 7. It may be kind of earlier than that, but I was with my grandparents living in the farm, in their countryside farm when I was younger. And they never really mentioned something like that, or like, so I feel like I have no kind of memory of I stuttering until I went back to the town and to kind of live with my parents. And then I also started school there, and it was also the first time I have to switch to speaking Mandarin, because at my hometown in the farm, we were kind of using our hometown dialogue. And so basically I have a lot of adjustment in terms of my life, also the way I talk. And then I think, so then soon after that, my parents noticed I was stuttering, and they were pretty shocked about that. So I just got a lot of comments about, oh, why don't you think more before you talk, or things like no rush, just like slow down, and then you will be fine, or like things like, oh, don't be shy, it's fine, we will wait. So it was just a lot of kind of advice that was not useful. Also make me really feel like there's something wrong the way that I talk. And they also went to identify some kids. One of my first like friend that I made after moving to the town, but they identify her as having a stutter. So they told me to not playing with her anymore, thinking that, like, making me feel like stuttering it's contagious disease, which I think is a kind of common myth in China even now. It's like, oh, you learned it from somebody as a kid. So that definitely create a lot of fear and a lot of stigma in me as a kid, as stuttering is gonna be the thing that make me lonely, or like isolated, or as an outsider. No kids will wanna play with me if they find out that I stutter. So I did everything I could to hide that. And I think at some point when I was like a teenager, I thought I kind of fixed it by just kind of thinking a lot about all the things before I say them. So just changing all the words, like really compose the whole sentence and the timing and everything. I feel I could pass and nobody could tell. And that's kind of how I has been like coping with stuttering all my life, until maybe after I started working And then at work, I have to do a lot of meetings, and my boss was noticing something wrong with my speech, but nobody really think about stuttering. And then also, I feel a lot of time I just try to fake as, oh, I don't know this language well. I'm trying to think of the word. I'm thinking a lot of the other things to trying to cover. But eventually, my boss was asking me whether I wanna being put on a smaller project and then do things like more like solo things as a way to help me out. And then at that point, I just realized this is something I have to face. So I seek out like therapist. But then at that time, I was just kind of searching the, speech therapist near me. I find one, like, first of all, there were very few that kind of work with adults. And then the ones that I find basically just really focus on a lot of like fluency shaping thing. Like we did a lot of tongue twisters and also other things, like changing my pitch, changing my tone. But I did that for 2 years and was, I don't know, I feel maybe sometimes using that tricks I can pass for one meeting, but it's just always constant fear that it will like those things will not work. I feel still I have no control. So, but anyway, but I came to this identity as someone who's a stutter much later. Like first started with working with a lot of people who stutter, not who stutter, but just kind of working with people with disabilities. So I somehow got into this field of accessibility research. I feel maybe part of it is because of I'm somebody who's stutter, and I feel I always have this empathy or like this kind of desire to kind of work with people facing a lot of these social or like physical barriers. So yeah, so then as someone who research AI, I'm somehow not compared by the like technology on its own, but super compared by how it can help somebody. So I work with people with visual impairment, with like dyslexia, and I feel in this process I also reflect on my own identity as someone with, or come to terms with, oh, I may be also part of this community, and I can also realize, like, can see my like difference not as a defect, but just more purely as kind of human diversity. But that took like years, maybe 8 years. So it's like a very long journey, like gradually accept my own difference. And then I joined this employee resource group for my co-workers who stutter. At first, I was just passively listening. I still didn't really want to identify myself or come out saying I'm also somebody who's stutter. But then as I see people sharing more, I feel kind of like here, just kind of getting more and more used to and get more kind of like exposure to what that is, and I just realized I'm not alone. And then with my colleague, we were able to actually push for like policy change, because before our work, health insurance didn't cover speech therapy cost, which I fight it for a long time, trying to get it covered, working with my like HR person, but failed. But then after being in this employee resource group, and then we kind of raised this collectively for 1 year, and then they changed it. So now it's covered. So then through that, I realized that by coming out, it's not only empowering for my own, but I think also that's the kind of only way to have some structural change. And I think that can impact a lot more people in the future, and also can kind of change the world in some way to reduce barrier for all. So that's when I started really coming out more, and then kind of come to this. And just to meet more people, and then now kind of contributing to my speech kind of project as the acting CTO for the team. So so that's my story.
Thank you, Xiaomei. So Olivia, is it okay? I'll talk a little bit about my speech, and then I'll get to your question. So as you all just heard, right, these are three amazing people, and then myself, who are a part of this organization. And the reason why we shared is to articulate that even though we come from all walks of life, right, our destiny is really shared. There's a lot of similarities, but if you take that a step further and look about how each of us were able to get help, it looked very, very different, right? Very different. For me, it was community support. For Jenny, it was arts, acceptance-based therapy, and you kind of go on and on and on. And you know, it was different for Xiaomei and Chloe as well. And just to see how different each of us access to support. Our mission at MySpeech is to tackle this issue of access. How there are so many solutions out there for people who stutter across community support from amazing organizations like NSA, Insane, Friends, and the World Stuttering Network. And then there's amazing therapy from a bunch of therapists from AAS, from these different groups. So our goal is to really be that bridge and to use the power of technology to connect people who stutter with different solutions, and to use data-driven recommendations to really drive that process. And it's all free, right? So we're a resource platform connecting people who stutter with supportive resources, and we're also interested in advocating. So our motto is preparing people who stutter for the world, and preparing the world for people who stutter. We are yes, Jamie, I have a bridge in my background. As is the culture here at the World Stuttering Network, we are extremely open to, working with everybody who's interested in stuttering across the world. We have partnered and continue to partner with say, the World Stuttering Network and different associations. So if you are interested in being involved, Jenny put a bunch of information about our websites and socials. We really want to be that bridge connecting like different communities, because we are one international community, right? So thank you everybody for being here, and we are just so excited. It's always amazing to see so many people who stutter from around the world all in one place. So thank you for Tom and Trisha for putting this together. Olivia, did you want to ask your question? maybe not. Yeah.
I think she does. Hold on.
Olivia, can you hear us?
Sorry, didn't realize I was on mute. Yeah, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of you for sharing your stories. You've all taken different journeys, but it was really inspiring to hear them, so thank you. Question for Shalmi. What is, it's not related to stuttering, but what is visually impaired people's access to technology in China? Like, is it accessible there? Like, can they access it easily, or is it quite hard?
What kind of technology? Like, is it like stuttering related technology, or it's just kind of like general technology?
Technology in general.
I think it's not super hard. Actually China, I think right now have the kind of biggest mobile usage. Like, even my dad and my mom, they are in their late 60s. They are just on the phone all the time. They can buy things from their phone and then doing tons of things on the phone. So I think in that sense, I think it's pretty widely adopted in terms of using apps and just, covering everything in your life. Other than that, but I do think they are kind of in somehow kind of separated technology ecosystem. Like, they do not really use Facebook, Twitter, but they have their own version. My dad and my mom use WeChat, use Douyin, which is the Chinese version of TikTok, and they use Taobao, which is the Chinese version of Amazon. But they got all their needs covered there.